Go 95.3, I'm Chaz Kangas, and joining me at this time, a very special guest, the creator, original host of Mystery Science Theater 3000, the future patron saint of riffing. He'll be coming to town on February 28th and 29th for a special live Mystery Science Theater 3000 performance. It is his final tour. I'm so blessed and happy to be joined by him today, the great Joel Hodgson. Joel, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, Chaz. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. So you got the MST3K tour coming to town. This is your final tour with MST3K after the previous two tours following the MST3K reboot and a number of live shows in the initial incarnation of Mystery Science Theater 3000. So what made this feel like the time for the final run, as it were?
Oh, yeah. Well, number one, I mean, we did our first live event over 30 years ago in Minneapolis, and it was when the show was just starting to get produced on Comedy Central. And it worked so good that I always made a mental note, like, if I ever got the chance again, we're going to do live. And so that's worked really good. Like you said, it's our third tour. And yeah, I kind of got sucked into each of them for different reasons. The first one was kind of introducing Jonah, who's our host on Netflix. The second was the 30-year tour, which made sense that we both do it. And then this latest one was Jonah was going to take it, and then he saw how big the tour was, and he backed out. And we were going to do half and half for a while, but I said, well, if I'm doing it, it's my farewell tour, and then it got very lopsided, like half is a Jonah tour and half is a farewell tour. So I just took the whole thing, and it's been super cool. I've loved it, and I'm savoring every gig we do because it's the end, and I'm gonna stop doing tours, and the next time it'll be somebody else.
Wow. So being it is a different medium now, going from, initially on television broadcast and then on Netflix for streaming, and now that it's been something performed in front of a live audience, to your knowledge, has anyone from the movies you've riffed live ever been in attendance for the productions?
Yeah, the woman who was the little girl in Manos, Jackie Naiman, comes to these gigs and events. So she's still really active. I also, Archibald Jr. has been at some of my live stuff, and he's the guy in EGA. He's the kid in EGA. So there's still people out there doing these things, and sometimes MST3K is a really good thing for them. It's kind of lit their lamp and allowed them to have, do gigs at Comic-Cons and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like an additional window into immortality with a lot of these films that who knows when they would have potentially resurfaced, but giving them that sort of distribution. And it's a pretty amazing connection. And that in mind, too, what I've really liked about going to the shows here now that I'm back in Minnesota is realizing how long the connection is here. And sometimes you'll see, two generations, coming and seeing the show together. So is it noticeably different doing the show live in front of the Minnesota crowds than the other cities, being it's the hometown advantage?
Oh, thanks, man. Well, listen, I can't say enough about how important Minneapolis is to really the creation of Mystery Science Theater. We made the very first show over 30 years ago on UHF, and I'm really glad that all those ideas still remain in the show. I mean, it's, movie riffing, the doorway sequence, the host segments, all those 30 years later are still there, and Minneapolis sparked to it right away, and they supported us so much. So to answer your question, I mean, they're really invested, and we're super happy to be back, and it's been a really lovely, long, I'm just super grateful. It's been a nice, long career, and I'm so glad to get to come back and celebrate that with all those people. It's going to be really cool. Minnesota couldn't have done it without you, right?
Absolutely. And for me, going back through some of the earlier episodes and hearing the little Minnesota connections, it's in a lot of ways like a snapshot or a time capsule of Minnesota history. Just the throw-arounds, like the Santa Claus Conquers the Martians when you mentioned Apache Plaza in there. Like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I used to go play pinball at Apache Plaza when I went to Bethel. So I went to college in Minneapolis. That's how I ended up in Minneapolis, and then my family moved up there. So I'm from Wisconsin, I was in Wisconsin through high school.
Wow, yeah, just getting the best of both worlds there.
Good people, man.
Mm-hmm. Just
good people.
Absolutely. And speaking of the best of both worlds, you have these two final shows coming up on the 28th and the 29th. In particular, I'm very excited about the Van Damme No Return, No Surrender on the Friday thing. It's been a dream of mine for you guys to always riff Jean-Claude Van Damme films. Quick short story, largely inspired by you and your work, actually. In 2009 in New York, I hosted a series of parties called Van Damme Nation, where from a different location each week it would emanate, and we would play two Van Damme films back-to-back with the goal of playing every piece of celluloid he appeared on within a year, which we did at that point. So seeing that
that's great.
So seeing that it's like No Return, No Surrender coming up is very serendipitous for me personally. So from your end, though, what led you to decide to finally, take on the Lord of the Splits?
Well, it was just a really happy surprise when we found this movie, and it's people are saying it's one of our best titles, and we're super proud of it. It's a terrible movie. I think it could be his first movie, and yeah, it's just fascinating. So we're super grateful. He's amazing, obviously, in his own right, and you could see even then how talented the guy was at martial arts, etc. And he's like a little baby mean guy in this movie. So you're just going to see a little baby Jean-Claude Van Damme when he's just starting out.
Yeah, the emergence, as it were, the event horizon of Van Damme.
Yeah, that's right.
Finally, I wanted to say, I guess kind of a two-part thing with sort of that in mind, because for a lot of people I found, especially with the access to MST3K now, there's more fans than ever. So for many, this is going to be their first time getting to see riffing live. And what would you say to anyone who's going to be coming to this for their very first live MST3K experience?
Well, I mean, like I said, when we started, in Minneapolis, and again, I can't emphasize enough how important that is to the beginning of the show. But doing our first live event in Minneapolis worked so well that in a way it's really the best iteration of Mystery Science Theater. It's really the best way to see it. And we figured that out 30 years ago. And so doing it live is amazing for people because it's a different experience because it's not one or two people watching the show at home. It's 1,800 people in a room watching it together, and there's more of a communal aspect because you start connecting with how people laugh and what people laugh at. As you know, MST has around 700 riffs per movie, so we present a lot of different ideas really quickly. And when you're in a room with that many people, you start to see how similar you are, and how similar the audience reacts. But there's still pockets, it's still funny. We still do enough arcane stuff that there might be pockets of people laughing. And, our motto has always been the right people will get it. So that's still the way it works for the live show, too.
Sweet. Well, I'm very excited for it. Congrats again on everything with this being the tour. I'm so glad to have been, because our first interview was way back in 2013, and just the amazing journey MST3K's continued to have in these years. And I'm excited for what's next as well. Joel Hodgson, thank you again so much. And, the station happens to be walking distance from the theater, and between that is the Loon Cafe. So if you want me to pick you up some chili from the Loon Cafe, say the word and I got you.
That's lovely. I would love it.